live with the music again.
Although I can't hear it, so I'm not hearing it.
Oh, she can't hear it. I can hear it. You guys can hear it. I can hear it. It sounds better than mine. Good evening, Monadnock region, and welcome to the 50th episode of Go Mo Tonight, the Monadnock region's only locally focused weekly comedy podcast. 50 episodes and still going strong. We're here in what we love to call our Space Lounge. I'm your host, Christopher DiLoretto, here with my lovely co-host,
Zoe Roten-Heinsman.
and we are here for the second time using this new platform. We had a couple of snafus last time, but that's okay. I think that's pretty normal to have some growing pains. If anything goes wrong this time, though, we're killing it. We're going to go back to the old way. But I have good optimism. Anyways, so today is the 26th of January, and it is a Thursday. There is no unusual weather happening right now. And I have to say, if I'm being completely honest, we didn't realize until we were about to hit record that this was our 50th episode. Otherwise, we might have planned something huge. I mean, we had Jonah and Charlie on for Christmas, and maybe we would bring Bill Taylor back, old friend Bill Taylor. He hasn't been on in a while. Like, I don't know what I would have done if I had been cogent and on my game enough to plan something for this, what we would have done for the 50th episode, but probably we would have done something intentional. So I don't know, maybe we'll make up for it some other time, or maybe in 10 weeks, we'll just have a big 60th episode bash, because those 0 episodes come up, every 3 months or so.
Yeah. Every 10. We should just do like a random number though.
We should. Yeah, maybe we should.
52 was always like my lucky number when I was a kid. I don't really know how this happened. Like my brother and I
2 episodes from now.
Yeah,
let's do that. Maybe we should do some kind of maybe we should try to utilize, if we don't defeat the tool here, maybe we should do some kind of live 50-second episode call-in special.
That sounds fun.
It could be kind of fun. So stay tuned, folks. We got plans. And actually, though, one special treat that we did decide to do, since it's the 50th episode, or we might have done it anyway, but we've begun, in fact, we might be slightly behind. This was a major theme of last week's episode, talking about the struggles of January and how a lot of times you might not get all your plans and goals and stuff in line until the end of the month. But it is the end of the month now. In fact, by the time this episode comes out, it's going to be February. So no real excuses now. You gotta get moving, right? Everybody's gotta get moving. So we did do our part this week, though, in beginning to move forward and articulate some of our plans for this year beyond this delightful Space Lounge. And we've talked to some folks outside of our little circle, which is just the two of us now that Sam is Lord knows where. Actually, I know exactly where he is. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this. He's on Main Street, though. Grove Street. He's on Grove Street. Got a secret office in there. I'm not telling you what address it is, but
he's there right now, like literally this minute.
He goes to bed too early for that. We're the only ones who ever kept him up past 9. So
yeah, it's probably true.
So outside of the two of us, though, we've begun some other conversations, and we want to share these things, even though they're nascent ideas, because we think it might be helpful to kind of put a bug in the collective Peterborough public's ear about a couple of these ideas when we post this in the oppression group and the Freedom Peterborough group, which you should join if you haven't yet. Maybe we'll get some feedback and some comments about some of these ideas if people are interested in this kind of thing, because we aim to please here. And also, after a meeting that we had yesterday, Zoe and I have some follow-ups that we have to do. And if we talk about these ideas publicly on this program, it kind of adds a little pressure to us to do some of those follow-ups and communicate one-on-one some of these things that we need to communicate, perhaps, with some key related people before this comes out. So the clock is ticking. We're putting ourselves on the hook. How do you feel about that?
Well, let's get to it. Let's put ourselves on the hook here.
Let's get to it. And you might think it's boring. January just came to an end. February is not much better. Everyone knows this. February is the month of dead hope, right? The light's getting a little bit brighter, but you still. I mean, I feel like there's usually a day in late February where I can actually, at least through a window, I can feel the sun for the first time in months, Mm-hmm. It hasn't happened yet. That's probably the best thing we can say about February, because most of you hope for things to get better, but it's just like arrested development, and the days get a little bit longer, but it's like you're just not getting the relief that you crave. It's still dry. If you're not good at like taking supplemental vitamin D, like the vitamin D that you got last summer has been gone for months, so you're in just a bad frame of mind. And if you're a person who suffers from seasonal affective disorder, you've been suffering for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it's not over yet. This is just a tough time, right? And then March comes along, and like it's my birthday month, and I always want to really be like, March is a good month. When I was a kid, me and my buddy Billy, whose birthday is almost exactly 6 months apart from me in September, used to argue about which was the best month, just because we wanted to have our birthday in the better month than the other. We were, at 8 years old, weirdly competitive about that shit, right? But I mean, he won't listen to this. He's right. You know what I mean? September is way better than March, honestly, because no, it's totally not, especially around here. Maybe in other parts of the country.
No, because you know what? Like, okay, maybe like other parts of the country, but in the South, where spring is very different than it is here. Spring kind of comes on all at once, and I have come to appreciate New England spring and the way that it unfolds. Gradual. And there's like different pieces of spring that happen, but March still sucks down there because you want it to be warm, and it isn't. It's just not yet.
It isn't quite warm. Yeah.
Like March is always the month. I mean, there's no snow to contend with. Usually, there was a famous March snowstorm when I was in 3rd grade, but it was
these things happen.
Yeah. March is usually the month where like the grass is a little green, and you're like, oh man, I want to go run around in that grass barefoot. But if you do, you'll be cold. And so it's
and it's like
disappointing.
Well, actually, tell me if this happens. Like, so if you go run out on that grass, right? Does it get hard there? Does the ground get hard? Like, I know it doesn't freeze, but does it? What does it feel like? Does it stay soft? Like, I guess I don't know how to
stay soft. Yeah, I guess it stays soft.
Interesting.
But it's just cold, and it's not like the spring frolic that I always wanted. This happened to me like multiple times as a kid.
Do you feel like we get a spring frolic even if it's not in March in New England?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just later on.
I guess you get it down south too. Like, it's just not March.
Yeah, I can see that. They're used to, I mean, it's actually true, I think, anywhere in New England where there's always one day, right? And sometimes it is actually in March, but it's usually even more of a tease because it isn't permanent, But if it's not March, it's going to happen almost definitely in April, right? Where there's one day where it's like in with capitalized proper noun letters, right? The first nice day. And it is like agreed upon, and everyone's outside, like walking amongst each other. And what I started off saying is it used to be this way in Boston. It is, or at least it was back in the Bush administration when I was around for this kind of thing, a much bigger affair in Boston. I mean, there will be like men and women with their shirts off on Boston Common on the first nice day. I'm not kidding. Like laying down on the hill, like basking in the sun. Like the first nice day might be 62 degrees, or
Right.
something like that. And everybody's out and everybody looks good and everybody's like not wearing a million layers. The puffer jackets are like a memory, right? Like just all the ugly, like everybody walking around like that, like God Almighty, it's just gone, and it's wonderful. And I look forward to that day, but it's probably not going to come in March, right? So you think to yourself, okay, man, we've got this whole long slog of just crap to go through, right? But if there's one lesson that Zoe and I have learned very, very well over the years and through many different ventures in many different forms, it's that everything that you want to plan takes way longer than you think it should. So we're looking out at things. I think both of them are, no, I know both of them are in May that we're talking about here. And we must begin the planning in earnest now, because we need February, March, and April to get this done. And, some of this stuff, people just need to know about it. And the ball has to be rolling that far in advance, even if we're not continuously working the whole time. So we're not just doing this to tease you. We're doing this because it's necessary. So why don't you kick us off with we have some ideas for town meeting, potentially both for the voting component and for the in-person actual town meeting component, right? And they're not we have some plans around like politics, right? But this isn't the political part. This is just community joy. So
yes,
take it away.
I feel like, so my experience being a candidate really is what spurred this idea, where like the candidates are out there like all day long for the ballot session, for voting, right? And there is a little bit of like a party vibe to it if you're standing there all day. And I think that it should be that way for everybody. Like, I think that should extend to voters as well. And like that it could be, much more of a fun thing to do, to go vote. And the plans are very nebulous. I don't really know what this looks like yet. I've seen in my mind since like my first run for rec committee that a balloon arch would lift the vibe of the whole thing. So I fantasize about that. I don't really,
Well, and we've discussed, and this is not a firm commitment, but we've discussed, if we're permitted to do so, funding the balloon arch ourselves. So like, we're not asking the taxpayers, Christopher Maidment, to, fund our fun and our balloon arch. No. We're a private business doing this for the good of the community, out of voluntary charity in our hearts.
Yes,
right?
A gift to the town. The other, but the taxpayers already own a hot dog machine. What's the like technical term for this? Hot dog
stand. I think we just call it hot dog stand. Yeah, it's a stand. Yeah.
To me, a stand implies like, like more than just the hot dog cooking apparatus.
Yeah, but I guess so. How does it cook it? Is it a steam thing?
I don't know, but I do know that the rec committee owns one and was talking about getting rid of it, but they haven't yet. So I did already email about this because I'm excited about some election hot dogs.
You've done one more follow-up than I have, at least at this point. So that's cool.
So we as a town own this hot dog stand, machine, cooker, whatever.
We'll buy the hot dogs.
Sure.
Or maybe people want to chip in, maybe there's other businesses that want to voluntarily be a part of this. I think that would be a ton of fun though. And I'm remembering this. I don't know if it's 100% accurate, but this is probably not the first time some people have heard us say this, because I'm pretty sure we talked about this in this year's live stream from voting, and if not then, we had a conversation about it live, not recorded, because this was definitely discussed where we were there and we're like, it's just, there's people, it's like people try to tell me that the dump is, but in reality, like where like
Right.
everyone really is coming together and chatting, especially if you're there all day. You just see all kinds of people coming and going, and it is really fun. And I know at least one point, I think we were on camera, but I could be making that up. I think we were like, this is missing a hot dog stand. We should have, I think I said that. We both agreed that there should be a hot dog stand. So
we've probably talked about the balloon arch before. Too.
Maybe even.
But like, we could have like musical acts, like a farmer's market, like,
I would love that. That would be really cool.
Have a hot dog after you vote.
Can you just imagine like Charlie Chronopoulos, like sitting by the door as people walk in, just playing his new version of I'm on Fire, like over and over again? I think that would be hilarious.
I think that it could like spur some real change. Just like get everyone in this right mindset,
Absolutely.
Before they go in the door.
And so I definitely think that festival atmosphere and the hot dog stand and or balloon arch and like things like that very easily slide in to the day of voting, right? The ballot session. The live session is a little bit trickier because of course it's indoors, right? And we could certainly set something up on the steps of the townhouse with permission, right? But it's not like people aren't like flowing back and forth, right? It's a time thing, and it's a session, and it's a meeting with rules and stuff. So there's not traffic, and we can't really do anything fun during the meeting because that would interrupt the proceedings. So
the meeting itself is fun, though. Like
it is fun. I
don't feel like that one needs more. I don't think so. Other than like more people to come and experience it.
Yeah, right.
And participate in it.
Right. And perhaps what we add to the, why am I not remembering the actual name of this? That's really bothering me. But anyways, the live session, like what do we call that?
The deliberative session? The open session?
The deliberative session is the live one that happens first. It happens like a month beforehand. They said it in the Peterborough Dispatch this week, which I would thank Allie for doing this, but I think she told us she hasn't done this in a long time. No, it's called the open session.
Yeah,
open
session. I just said that.
You did?
I did.
Oh, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. I was thanking whoever is not Allie who does this thing. Sorry. Open session, as Zoe knew. Maybe what we bring to the table there is just some better like live coverage of it, like maybe we could have a camera in the back filming the whole thing this time. There's always people with cameras there and stuff, right? But we pretty much never, other than the official town footage, which is, on the Ustream or wherever the town's videos are. You don't see like the paper or like the Keen paper or anybody else like posting videos or coverage of this kind of thing. So maybe we can supplement the town's video with our own colorful type of video. And although I wonder if there's a fun way we could greet people in some way, whether on the steps or if they would let us, like, how sometimes for events they close the doors to the select board room and they put a table right there. So you go up like the first like 5 steps or whatever, and there's like people there before you go around the staircases.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we print up something fun to give to them, like some kind of. We always complain about how there haven't been stickers, so like maybe we do something like that.
That's a good idea.
And there's definitely never stickers for open session, right? And really, if you go to open session, that's a much bigger commitment that you've made civically. So maybe we make like congratulatory, not that the people here need any more self-congratulation, but it would be kind of fun. Stickers that we hand to them as they go in. As thank you for participating in this, and maybe we can drive some more engagement by promising these stickers to people who have never been to town meeting before.
Yeah. But it's like, instead of I voted, like what would be the verb for?
I legislated.
I love it.
Because as Andrew said in our bonus episode, and as we've said, shouldn't say that concept on this program was introduced by Andrew, because we've talked about this many times. in the town meeting form of government, the legislators are the people. And, so something along that theme of like,
I like that.
I am a legislator of the people, like, or some, something like that, like, really civic with the cool graphic and stuff. We could, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah. Cool idea.
Yeah. And coming right on the heels of that, I think it's just a couple weeks later. So May 10th, which is, I think it's almost always a Wednesday. I shouldn't say almost always. It is always a Wednesday. My calendar won't pop up on my computer. I
have a calendar open.
Thank you.
Are you going to tell what it is, though? Or are we going to get the date first?
We'll do it simultaneously. Wait, did I screw? I'm looking in the wrong month. I'm like, did I? Yeah. Everybody's favorite.
Not in my calendar.
The future Kentucky Derby Day of Peterborough, with drinking in the streets and big fancy hats. We don't want the big fancy hats now. Don't forget, we've been promoting the big fancy hats for a long time, actually. But someday we're going to close the streets. Sorry, Chief Gennard. Maybe we'll wait until after you retire. We'll take advantage of your successor to have drinking in the streets, things like that. Children of the Arts Day. Yes, I know it's Children and the Arts Day, but no disrespect intended to the committee. I like it better. I just like it.
Yeah. You've been saying it so long that Children and the Arts sounds wrong to me now.
It does. Yeah. Yeah. And it's, because when you say children and the arts, they seem separate, like separate categories to me. Whereas this is, our children are born of the art of creation or something like that. It's still, It's a little half baked and stonery, but I like it. So that's that day. And our concept here, which could go in one of many different directions, is, and again, this has come up many, many years. It ends at like 3:00. And really, I think, doesn't the parade happen earlier than that too? And then it kind of dies after the parade's like 1 or something like that. And so the real action is like 10 to 1.
We tried to get some face painting after the parade last year, and they were like packing it up. They were like done. They didn't even make it all the way.
Yeah, and for our part, we had a table where we had a really fun tick removal game based on 90s Dare class. No one came around, so like it's like we actually were there to greet more people. You know what I mean? We were not packing it up, but there was nothing to do because everyone gives up and goes home. Maybe that's okay. We're not trying to tell the Children of the Arts people to have their parade later or change it around at all. We have enough battles to fight, right? They can plan that as they see fit. But the bigger issue is not that things die after the parade. It's that when the event officially ends at 3:00, there's nothing else to do for the rest of the day. And it's such a big festival. There's so much joy and exuberance, and like it infects the adults too. I think honestly more than the kids in a lot of cases, right? It's a very happy time. It's very celebratory. It is Peterborough's like spring festival. And one can make a very strong argument, almost incontrovertible now at this point. It's Peterborough's signature festival of the year. It's we've talked before about how every town has like one thing that's like unique to them that they do in the thing. Like, pots and pans in Greenville, right? Temples, same weekend, but temples the next morning, 4th of July is, I think, better than what I've seen in other towns. Who does
Francistown
does Labor Day. Yes, that's what I was thinking of. So this is Peterborough's, and Peterborough should have more than this, but we take this very seriously, and it just kills the momentum of the whole thing when there's like no options after that point. And yes, you can have house parties and things like that. We've tried that, or at least talked about. Did we do that last year? We talked about it.
People came over.
Yeah, I think we did. I think we had a bit of a bash. But we want it to be collective and we want it to be public, and we understand that we're at least a decade away from convincing anyone to like challenge the RSAs on alcohol and convince the many virtue police people of the town that it's okay to not be sober on the children's parade. We understand that that's a decade-long fight, right? But we have to start somewhere, and so we want to have some sort of after party, whether it's something that like continues right at 3, or more likely, something that happens a little while later, so that there can be like an interregnum, like a break period for like feeding and shifting and things like that, and then come back out. And whatever form this takes, the idea is that like it's family friendly in the sense that kids can certainly be there, but it's not primarily tailored towards children. Adults are supposed to have a good time at this, and not faking or trying really hard, or this is good for a kid's thing or anything like that. Just like the parade and the festival itself, where, like I said, adults have legitimate joy and legitimately get carried away by the feeling independent of the children. We want that same spirit to continue on.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is another area where we would love feedback. Like we talked about potentially, like if there was a restaurant or a bar that wanted to partner with us on something like this and host a Children of the Arts night type of event where there's maybe like some music and it's some drinking and food in a festival environment, right? We've heard that the businesses really don't love Children of the Arts Day, and they say that fewer people go in to eat and all that stuff. Well, we could change that. We could even say be magnanimous here, right? Not even just one restaurant, but what if multiple downtown establishments decided that they wanted to do their own special thing on the evening of Children in the Arts Day? And so you could like roam between them and check multiple ones out, or pick one that offers something that appeals most to you. And if that were the case, say, and people, it's like 3 or 4 different places people are going between, it's not drinking in the streets, but we've sort of spiritually connected these different drinking establishments, a la Bourbon Street, right? Where like you can go from one to the other. You can't carry your cup across yet, but you can carry your vibe across.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea.
It would be cool. We'd have to get these, I know that I don't know the business owners that well, but sometimes they seem reticent to want to do things like that. But who knows? Maybe they, maybe.
But they put artwork up in their windows, so like,
yeah,
it's like they participate. It's not that they're like anti-children in the arts.
That's true. That is true.
So,
but other ideas that we've had potentially are holding an actual event in a space, like say, now, hopefully we perhaps talk to some of these relevant people before this, but like, what about the golf course? What if we rented out, us and a couple other, again, private businesses or organizations who have the same values as we do, want to pitch in or something and rent the place out. And, I assume the golf course would supply the bartender and make money off of the alcohol sales and stuff, but do something in that space where there's like potentially like music and some activities and just an opportunity for people to reconvene together in revelry. That's another option. I don't know. Am I forgetting other ideas along these lines for Children in the Arts Day?
Half-baked ones that will require some like reaching out and talking before I think we're ready to, put any other concrete ideas out there. But
yeah,
something.
So for the public out there, these are the two main things that we're kind of, in our 50th episode plea, that we're sort of looking for some opinions on. Like, I know I know for facts, because again, I've been having this conversation for many years now. There's many people out there who would be interested in this after party. And if you're one of them, especially if I've never talked to you about it before, we want to hear from you. And we want to hear what your ideas are and what you think would be the most fun. And hey, maybe you know somebody who would be interested in helping out with this. There's chime in. Let's, like, I don't mean to be cheesy, but like fucking community, man. Like, let's, DIY, friggin' mutual aid, right? Let's we come together and we can make all kinds of things happen. So we want to hear it. So please bring it to us. And those are just our May ideas. We not our idea, but there's rumblings in the out there that perhaps, if they get it together, the Chamber of Commerce of Greater Peterborough and Keene may want to bring fireworks back to Peterborough for 4th of July. As any regular listener of this program knows, we support this 100%. We have been calling for the reinstitution. We think it's a crime that so many towns around here have their own fireworks celebration, and Peterborough is just silent, except for people like me who get a whole bunch of fireworks and shoot them the fuck off. As I said last year, don't complain to me about my fireworks, because I don't want you to have a dog. Anyways, that's a mean thing to say, but the sticking point does seem to be the location. Again, these are unconfirmed rumors, and I will say we've given lots of shit to the Chamber of Commerce. If they follow through on this idea, we owe them props. That's a legitimately good thing for them to do. It's a thing that this town has lacked, and it would be filling that gap, and we truly appreciate that, and we want to see it happen, and we support it, and we will help any way that we can. But one of the reasons that the location for this is difficult is because they used to shoot them off from the high school, because, there's regulations, especially with a larger town-style fireworks display, about like feet from houses and like feet from people and like all this stuff. And some of the only places in a hilly country like this that are flat are going to be like athletic fields and other areas at schools, right? So again, this isn't our plan, and so we're not so much looking for direct feedback on this, but the point that I want to make, and this is something that we specifically talked about last week, so it's very relevant, is that what we hear through the grapevine is that the only sticking point with using the school for this is that the school, what does the school say? What is the school's common refrain that we just hear again and again and again?
They don't want us to do that.
They don't want us to do that on their land. I'm not just stirring up shit in saying that, like, I think a lot more of you should have a problem with that attitude, because it's wrong. The schools are not like a little government unto themselves, even if they have a board, okay? They are not like a little Vatican City within the Rome of this region. That is not how this works. Those are not their buildings and their grounds. They are ours. They belong to us every bit as much as the Peterborough Townhouse does. And yes, I understand that the charter of Conval means that, like, they're technically shared and all that stuff. Look, I grew up in a school district. It was 3 towns, right? And yes, it was a school board like this one where each town has a say on the board, and like major changes have to be approved by all of them and all this shit, right? But if Townsend wanted to use one of the schools for something, they fucking used the school for something. They were never told no. And that might be a little bit different now, because in Massachusetts, it's not that common to have a day off on election day. And there's a lot of people that are skittish about having adults who haven't had query checks in school buildings with children. Whereas back in my day, they sometimes would have live voting with classes going on, right? So they don't want to do that now, and that's fine. But sometimes they do close the schools for that, and they have to, that is a societal trade-off, I guess, that the towns are not in control of. And that's okay. None of what we want the schools to do requires adults without query checks to be in the school building with the children and like molesting them all. Like we don't want any of that, right? We're talking weekends, we're talking nights, we're talking times when this publicly owned resource is available for us to use and sits fallow because the schools just don't want to deal with it. And I don't like that. I want a more cooperative spirit coming from our school board. And as this episode is coming out at the beginning of February, it is too late for us to have an organized campaign to reform the school district in all of these towns, to elect people who want to be more flexible with the town about our resources and about saving money, because we know we're never going to be able to close the goddamn empty school buildings. And some have pointed out to me, I don't know the math, some have said to me, the belt tip, for example, that closing the schools actually would only save us less than $1 million a year, which if you look at that school budget, isn't that much. So maybe if that's all, just fuck it, right? But there's other things. There's administrative bloat. We're never going to conquer that. That's society-wide, right? That's most of what we're paying for, because the teachers cost the same. It's just that there's consultants and administrators, and they make a shit ton of money, and they probably don't deliver a lot of real gains, but they're necessary for all schools now, and that's what we have to live with. We can't solve that problem, right? And so, man, you know what? These fucking people, they're never going to help us lower our overall budget and lower our property taxes. The way that the law and the charter is, maybe there's probably nothing that we can do about the actual dollars coming down. But the least they could do, given all of that, right, is say, hey, though, maybe there's ways we can reduce your burden in other places by hey, letting you knock down the fucking armory and play basketball here, where there's a properly sized court and it's meant for basketball because it's a school with a gym. And that could be any of the schools, because they all have fucking gyms with basketball courts. All of them. Every single one of them in the whole school district has that. And we got to play games at the community center because, I don't want to see that. And we deserve fireworks. And it's the goddamn summertime when the school isn't being used for any of that. And I want to see those shot off. I don't want to, maybe we'll do it somewhere else because it's better. Okay. But I want it to be because we want to, not because the school said, screw you. And you know what? I will say this ahead of time. When we find out who's running for school board, I want to call or email as many of them as possible and get them on the record as what their position is on things like this, because everybody deserves to know. And so it's going to be tough for us to organize anything big or awesome for the school board election. As always, we'll aim for next year. But that much we will do. I will personally fucking try to reach out to every single one of these people and be like, what is your position on this and why? And we will publish them. And people who don't respond to us, we will publish that too. And we want to change this. So we want more celebrations and more fun. It's our 50th episode, and we want you to have a fucking shitload of fun. Uncensored.
Well, by the time this episode comes out, if I remember the dates correctly from when I just saw them in the paper, the filing period for running for school board is not yet over. So, if you're out there and you're enraged by this and you're like, I want to run for school board, and I will let us know. Let us know.
I will tell you this. If you run for school board, maybe you have other reasons as well, but if part of your run is to run on this type of platform where we have cooperative schools that work well with the town and allow the resources that are ours to be shared with us, tell us, because we will back you and we will promote you. We will have you on the show. We will endorse you. We will do everything that we can to help you get elected, because that's what we want to see in this community. So Uncle Sam, little Uncle Sam, Uncle Chris here. So we want you, not for the army, but for society. Come on out. Many opportunities, many opportunities.
That was a good little rant. I mean, I think it's inspiring. People may hear that and wish to run for school board.
I really hope so. I hope it does. I hope it gets somebody into gear. But okay, so those are our plans, and we want your help in all of them. So, what's next on our docket? We have it's winter still. We got ever since. So last time we were on the air, we were talking about how there was a snowstorm. We got like 6 inches of snow. We thought it was, it was heavy, wet snow. We thought it was a pain in the ass and all this stuff. And then like a couple days later, Sunday night, this storm was supposed to, it was at the time we recorded, I think they were still saying like just like a couple inches, right? Got like a fucking foot of more heavy, wet snow. And then we got slush. We got like 3 inches of slush a couple days after that. So winter, condensed winter has fallen upon us.
Yeah, shutting down towns in its wake.
Yep. Yeah, Ringe. Poor Ringe. Ringe is the future, but not the present. I
heard at one point, like the traffic lights were off, like Market Basket was shut down, like throwing
no power
food away
anywhere.
You couldn't get out of any of the highways because there were trees down and stuff.
Yeah, it seemed like from everything that I saw that and I actually saw a post, interestingly, by I think it was the Winchester Police Department that was doing breakdowns of like power outages and things like that. And I think it was like yesterday. And so it wasn't even in the middle of the storm. It was like, this is what's still going on. And they did make the comment that this is absolutely above average for the state. So like our region in particular got clobbered by this. But it seems like even within our region, the corridor of Route 119, which I'm very familiar with as where I grew up in Townsend, the street is right off of 119. But this is, of course, many miles away. But the corridor of 119 that goes through Ringe and into Fitzwilliam and through Richmond just got clobbered in terms of trees. And those were the roads that were just shut down in multiple places. Like 119 was shut down, I think, in Ringe and in Richmond, heading into Winchester for a time. And the whole town of Ringe was basically out of power.
And where is Mason connected to that?
No, Mason is more like south of Temple, and it's
close to Massachusetts, but a different road.
Correct. It's still close. I shouldn't act like it's like totally different, but like it's still close. Both Mason and Ringe. No, I shouldn't say that. Mason borders Townsend actually. So Mason is closer to that direction, like more like due south, whereas 119 goes from Townsend through Ashby, through Ashburnham, and then finally meets the Ringe border. So it's, I think it's further west.
I just heard that Mason got like wiped out too. That's why I was.
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
Connected.
I'm sure they did. Sorry, I have to see if I'm right here. Producer Jimmy, coming on with. We got to look at a map. And say, well, Google Maps apparently doesn't know what Southern New Hampshire is. It thinks it's just a university. Let's look up Peterborough, New Hampshire.
These are things we need to know,
These are things we need to know. And as we established in the last episode, my sense of geography is awful, always. And so looking at maps is always like a fascinating experience for me because it's always like seeing them for the first time. It's like, that's where that is. Hold on, let me test out this feature that we want to use for something else later. I'm going to put my screen up here. Sorry for those of you on SoundCloud or podcast app, you won't be able to see this. But can you see this on your end, Zoe? This screen, this map?
I can see it. Yeah, I just can't quite read all the little town names.
Okay, so we'll see if our audience is actually able to capture this. But in any case, I think actually, okay, so.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah, so actually, I was wrong. Ringe is what's more like due south of Peterborough, and New Ipswich, Greenville, and Mason are slightly southeast. It's more like south-southeast, I think it would technically be direction-wise from there. And the corridor of road that we're talking about, stop popping up. It starts like here, basically, getting towards. See, Ringe 119 goes all the way. This is why I say. And John Hunt, I think, told me that it's not true. And I guess looking at the map, maybe that's so. But I've always thought that Ringe was so huge because if you ride 119 from end to end, it's far. It's like a big, long stretch right here. Mm-hmm. So it's like basically from like here into Fitzwilliam, and then 119 continues due west into Richmond, going towards Winchester. And this whole area was just like slammed.
Mm-hmm. So I will tell you, I can't see your mouse.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Oh, that kind of sucks. I was good guess. I was moving my mouse over the area.
When you hover over those things, I could see that
I was there
hovering, but like I couldn't see the movement.
Yeah, I see. So for those here, so it's basically like from here on the map, continuing to here, continuing a little bit further beyond here. Which Richmond is so controlled by that Catholic cults that they don't even allow pictures of themselves to appear. They're just that sequestered. Interesting place. Anyways, that's our geography lesson for this episode. But yeah, crazy. It was so very serious for those towns that really got wiped out. Everything was mostly repaired within a day. There were some of these places that got really hit, like Ringe. It was like a couple of days of hairiness, right? But I definitely got the sense that some people are just kind of bored because they really wanted this to be the next ice storm of 2008. I think that was 2008 ice storm, maybe 2007. I don't know. 2008, I think it was.
It was definitely before I was in this region.
Yeah, and it was not. That's not going to happen. But what is going to happen, though, is less dramatic than that. And it's not going to be a singular event that like people have no power for a week. And like it does feel like people are wishing for this, which is strange to me. But it's not going to be like that. But because we're going to warm a bit, as we discussed, the snow is going to get heavier. That's what makes the snow heavy. Is it's snowing at like 32 degrees instead of 20 degrees, and which makes more powder. And that's how it's going to snow from now on. Most winters is like this. And what we need is, whether it's probably the utilities, but maybe in some cases the governments, maybe it's the governments in conjunction with the utilities, need to focus more on the tree maintenance and stuff like that, and proactively catching the likely trees and limbs that are going to take down lines before they happen, because that is going to be cheaper than continually calling people in for like massive overtime, round the clock operations to restore power, which you have to do for people in the winter because they're going to freeze and their food's going to go bad, and like it's going to it just sucks. So anyways, that's our future for Ringe and the rest of us. We also had a very helpful post from a gentleman. This is in the oppression censored group. Gentleman we mentioned last week, actually. His name is Jonathan Golson. He's got a blue check mark. He's the professional car reviewer. And I really did. I liked this post on its own merits, and I liked the conversation that came out of it because it was hilarious. A lot of people saying stupid things, but other people saying good things. I liked it. It was a good interchange. He posts a dash cam video, which he has because he's a fucking professional car reviewer, right? It's blue check mark. He says, if someone is curious what Temple Mountain looks like, it's slippery but passable. This was at 6:30 p.m. Wednesday evening. You do have winter tires, of course, right? All-wheel drive won't help you stop. Only rubber designed for cold, wintry conditions can do that. Trust me, I'm a professional. And he clarified in some comments that he wasn't being a dick in saying I'm a professional, like I'm a professional guy. He was kind of kidding in saying that. He was trying to make
I read it in a funny tone.
Yeah, he did. It was a funny tone. So I want everyone to be clear that that's a thing. But everybody's least favorite commenter in the town, Elaine Marie, and I guess thanks to Elaine, because if it wasn't for people like Elaine, the conversation would have been more boring. So somebody's got to throw themselves on the sword, I guess, of duncery. She just does not like professional what? Driver? Tire guy? Hopefully this video you took was hands-free, as that is the law in New Hampshire. By the way, go around the mountain through Greenfield, Lyndeborough, Wilton, out to Milford. Saves the white knuckle driving. New Hampshire RSA 26579C specifically prohibits the use of any handheld mobile electronic device capable of providing voice or data communication while driving or stopped in traffic. And the leading cause of accidents in this state is distracted driving from people on their cell phones. Like, fucking thanks. Blair, thank you, Blair. Shout out to Blair. Got the first response in. Karen, it looks like a dash cam. Which it like pretty obviously, if you've heard of a dash cam video, it's clearly a dash cam. This is not a handheld phone. A lot of people. Well, I just one more reenactment of Elaine, because her response to Blair is just a little priceless. Blair Weiss, first of all, my name isn't Karen. Second, I would like to know what kind of professional he professes to be. I don't go on your group page, that's the freedom page for the record, that you are admin of, and call you names. Don't you come on this one and call me names. Got it? Be a better man. In all caps with the man. That's what it says.
Is she an admin of the group?
No, she was talking about Blair.
No, I know, but like the way she was like, I don't go on your page that you
admin. Yeah, no, she's not an admin of this group. Okay. I don't know why this is her page. No, I don't. It doesn't make a lot of sense. No. She's not the great God Don Sykes or anything like that. There's only one of them, right? But the other piece, I like this guy. I don't know. Maybe we should invite this fellow on the show to talk about reviewing cars. I like his personality, and he just very calmly responds, "You're welcome to tap my name and see my very public and verified profile, parentheses. That's what the little blue check means," which Elaine does need that explained. So I like it that he did that. If you're looking for more information, but here's my LinkedIn if you're interested. Not sure why you're so suspicious. And which I just find just so funny. And yes, so people are just saying, this stuff. And then, I need to switch it to like all comments, because some poor woman chimes in. I have to say her actual name, because this was just too funny to me, even though I'm sure this happens all the time. But her name is Karen Nadeau. Responds, please stop using the name Karen as a derogatory term. Which I am sorry to those named Karen. You're shit out of luck there. It's not going to stop, but that's just funny. And then Jordan also patiently explains, it's a dash cam permanently affixed to the windshield. A Nextbase 622 GW, if you're curious, highly recommended. I'm an automotive journalist and car reviewer and drive many dozens of cars a year. I have taken quite a few professional driving. So he goes on, and he says, if you're white knuckling while driving, you shouldn't be driving in those conditions. You need to properly maintain, and I agree with all that and all this stuff. I also like it though, that his post though, even though it is in good humor, is not scornful of those who want to see Temple Mountain. And I want to say for the 10 millionth time, if you think it's weird to ask about what's going on at the top of Temple Mountain, you have a serious disorder. Like, I don't know why you would think that. It is, sometimes people have to drive in the snow, right? Even the most experienced, yes, Jordan talking about, if you have a properly equipped car, I drive with snow tires. I'm a very experienced driver in the snow. I've been doing it for decades at this point, but I don't like it, and I'm very careful. And I know that no matter how good I am, or no matter how good my tires are, no matter if I have 8-wheel drive, something can still go wrong in the middle of a snowstorm, and I could drive into a tree or drive into another car. It happens to anybody, no matter how good you are. And Temple Mountain, going over that pass, has its own unique weather. I've driven through it multiple times, where if you're on the bottom on either side, it's 38 degrees and it's misting out. But up at the top of that mountain, it is 33 degrees and it is more slippery than you can imagine. And it's foggy and you can't see. And it's cool to have a heads up about that, because if you do, maybe you can take Elaine Marie's advice and go around it, or you can at least just mentally prepare yourself that, all right, this is going to be difficult and I'm going to go slow and I'm going to survive it. It's not a weird question to ask. And people act like it's just so stupid. And like, if you are concerned about going over Temple Mountain, you're an idiot and you should feel bad and you should stay home and do the rest of us a favor. That's like usually the common refrain. But no, that isn't how it is. I think that the people who aren't concerned about what's going on at the top of Temple Mountain are the ones who scared me, because you're too confident. You're the ones that I'm afraid of on the road, because you're going to pass people in the passing lanes going up Temple Mountain. You know, you're the one who's going to end up in the ditch, you know? So be afraid and ask and, you know, whatever. Right.
Yeah.
That's all we have to say about that.
I was going to say this a minute ago. Let me see if I can remember what my favorite comment was that he said in that post, though. Oh, yes. My favorite comment that Jordan, the original poster, made was that he wasn't showing his speed. So you'll never really know, like, if he's going really slow, or because it looks like he's going really fast in the video.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to tell, you know?
Uh-huh.
I thought that was funny.
It was funny. And I want to find his exact words, because I liked it, because I think he was replying to Blair somewhere in there and saying, I don't know, but in any case, his comment was, oh yeah, there it is. He wasn't responding to Blair, responding to somebody else. I stripped out the live speed at the bottom of the video, lest someone judge. And then in parentheses, too fast or too slow, we'll never know. And I'm sure that there would be multiple people on either side of that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I see people on WMUR like all the time, when like and like other New Hampshire news places, where it's an article about New Hampshire State Police nabbed someone on 93 going like 124 miles an hour and shit like that. It's always 93. It's often somebody from Maine or the Seacoast. It's almost always someone from Maine or the Seacoast doing this, right? And you will inevitably get those people who are like, actually, if you know what you're doing, you have the right kind of car, it's safer to go over 100 miles an hour. And I can't believe you, like, people will say this, like, they literally say, they'll be like, it's, you know, it's really not that bad to do that, you know, which, like, I hope that most of these people are like, I don't know, under the age of 25, because, like, yes, I remember being a kid and thinking it was cool to speed and shit, you know, like, I was never a daredevil going that fast, though. I never liked that, because I didn't want to die. Because if you hit something going that fast, you're dead. Like, you're just toast, you know, doesn't matter what you're driving, you're a goner. And I didn't, even in my reckless youth, that seemed too reckless to me, you know? God, and that was back in the 90s, of course, when it was okay to be a little reckless and it was okay to not be safe. And going that fast was still considered a little bit uncool. It's tragic. We had this road behind my high school that was it was a back road where I think the speed limit was like 35 or 40 miles an hour, but it was long and straight and like went up slowly up a hill on a long thing. And it tapered off by the time I was in high school. But like a lot of people died on that road because they would try to set a speed record on it. Like it was like every few years a high school student or two was getting in a crash and dying on that road from trying to see how fast they could go on it. Wow. So by the time I was in high school, no one was really doing that anymore because it had such a reputation as like a claimer of young lives, as perhaps it should have. Even in the risk-friendly 90s and early 2000s, that was accepted as maybe just an unsafe thing to do. So don't do that, you know. But nobody in Peterborough is cool with that anyways, except for maybe that race car driver guy that chimes in from time to time.
Maybe he keeps it to the track though, and not.
I like to hope.
Not 101.
You know, when I was young, I was like maybe 13. I was probably 12 or 13. The job that my dad had at the time, I want to say he was doing merchandising for Star Market. And as a merchandiser, he just got tickets to everything for like 3 or 4 years. And every single type of sport that there was, he just had tickets all the time. And this time it was NASCAR. It was the only time I went to a NASCAR race. I didn't think it was fun. It wasn't for me. I don't want to go into that. No offense to the NASCAR people. I didn't enjoy it, but the tickets came from Kellogg's. So we got to, and Kellogg's had a car. They probably still do. And so there was a Kellogg's tent. And the Kellogg's driver was a guy named Terry Labonte, who I don't know if he still races cars, but I think he was relatively well known at the time. And he did like Q&A and stuff. And so I took the opportunity. I thought I was hilarious, right? And so I raised my hands and I said, man, like, are you ever just like driving down the normal road and you just like have a flashback and you think you're in a race and you just immediately start driving as fast as you possibly can? And he just paused and looked at me. No. That was all he said. So according to that professional race car driver, they do leave it on the track.
You could have asked Terry Labonte anything, and that's what you picked. You could have like the wisdom of Terry Labonte.
And that's what I wanted to know is that was very much what I was like in middle school. Was like I wanted to be a wise ass and fuck with people. Who am I kidding? That's not just middle school. That never ended. We're still doing this. I'm just better at it now. And I don't have tickets to these exclusive areas.
Not NASCAR areas.
No, not NASCAR areas. No, other areas though. Other areas. Yeah, for sure. There's definitely exclusivity coming down the pike. So I think we were going to do this whole gallery thing because like I've started putting them in the comments of the Facebook posts, right? And Zoe's been putting them in the Tuesday email that comes out each week on Wednesday morning. But actually, I don't know how it works on other people's podcast app. Mine kind of sucks with this, and it doesn't show the featured image that I select for my own episode on my app. I don't know if it does for other people. But anyways, SoundCloud lets you put a featured image for each episode that in theory broadcasts out to your podcast apps. And I've been doing these AI art creations for each of them, basically like based on something that we talked about in the episode. Like last episode, we talked about whether New England should steal Europe's warmth. And so I did a lot of explorations with AI art around a permanently frozen Europe. And one of which became the featured image for that episode. Who knows what we'll do for this one, but we were going to talk about, maybe we'll save this for next week because I don't want to go on for too long here. We're already past an hour, but I'm having way too much fun messing with these text to image AI art things. And I don't give a shit about the ethical questions. I'm sorry. I'm not here to talk about whether it's like putting art like real life artists out of work, or whether it's real art, or whether it's should be fought in a Butlerian jihad like in the Dune novels. Like, I'm not here to talk about that. Whether it's right or wrong or ethical or not, I'm having way too much fun with this. And I wanted to use our new screen sharing feature to have a little gallery showcase of some of the stuff we've talked about. We'll save that for next week, though. I think, right? Was there anything else that we really needed to cover this time around?
I don't think so.
All right, I'm going to go ahead, and you won't be able to hear it, but I'm kicking off our exit talk through, which I love.
We got 2 good Chris rants in this episode, though, so it's definitely okay to save the art.
I don't think it's lagging at all. That's why I want to cap it here. Like, we'll save the other material for next time, right?
Sounds good.
This episode, as all of them are, is produced by our benevolent and wonderful, magnanimous sound lord and producer, Chad Patterson, who is extremely patient and helpful. And I don't know how, how to put it. It's not pedantic, but like whatever. Anyways, as we go through this migration to a new and have snafus and all this stuff, he's working us through it. He can do that for you. He's got a website, studio117.net, not .com. That's not an error. It's .net, studio117, where you can book Chad to do anything you need. He can produce your podcast, consult with you on how to wire a room. He can mix your audio. He can run the soundboard for your band. Anything you think of. Look him up and book him. And if he says no to you, it's because he's too busy with his other side gig, running Down by 10, which is now New England's premier dad rock band. Booked out all the way into the summertime. They're coming to Milford sometime soon. We'll talk about that. Oh, by the way, if you're listening to this, come out to Winterland this Saturday night at the Pastel. I don't know where they're going. Put it in the notes. Maybe Pastel out. We're going to be there. It's going to be Bill Mullins singing. Here's some Grateful Dead. Anyways, Down by 10 though. Dad rock covers. They can probably do Grateful Dead. Who knows? Book them. But you might be relegated to a weekday time now because they are so busy. Anyways, all that stuff's in the show notes. Thanks, Chad. Thanks to you, our listeners. We love you so much. Come back and join us again in this new and improved Bass Lounge next week, same time, same place. And until we meet, do me a favor. Do us all a favor. Take some good advice.